Okay. Thanks for joining me. I'm Joy Purdy, and on this edition of Discover the Joy, the Purdy podcast, I have with me MADISON SCHEMITZ. She is from Ponte Vedra Beach here in St. Johns County, Florida, and you want to talk about resilient and strength. This woman epitomizes that. And I know it's going to sound like I'm talking a lot, but I want to explain to everybody what happened to you and how we got to this point and speaking with you. So MADISON was with her mom in a restaurant. They were eating. In walks, I'm going to go through this very quickly. In walks her ex-boyfriend. They see him. They get up. They leave. He chases them outside the restaurant. And he attacks MADISON and her mom. He stabs MADISON 17 times, hurt her mom, who was trying to protect her daughter, as well as a bystander. His name is Kennedy Armstrong. He and another man ran over to help the ladies and hold the ex-boyfriend down until police got there. Long story short, his name is Spencer Pearson. He was arrested, charged with attempted murder, and he went through a trial, is now in jail. He's serving a life prison sentence. But also serving a life sentence is MADISON, because in what happened, in the stabbing, MADISON was paralyzed from the chest down, which is incredible because she walked in here and sat in this seat. And none of us going through what happened and watching it on the news and telling it on the news had no idea. I didn't think you were ever going to walk again. And you did. So just if you can explain what those thoughts were right after, and you detailed some of this in court when you were asked to speak. Is that your phone? Typical teenager, right?
I'm so sorry.
That is okay, no problem. See, it cuts the ice, so we're chill now, right? But if you can, I put mine over here. Feel free to put it wherever. But tell me what thoughts went through your mind when you realized what happened to you, and you were laying on the ground.
I think trying to explain like my thoughts in that moment, it's all kind of clouded to some extent just because there's so much adrenaline and everything going on. But the first realization was actually in the moment. I had understood what happened. I understood that I couldn't feel my legs. I understood that it was getting hard to breathe. I think I had a good understanding of it almost immediately, and then it was kind of just fight or flight until I got to the hospital and then so on.
Did you think you were going to die there?
Yeah, 100%. But I also had confidence in myself that I wouldn't, and had confidence in the first responders and everyone around me that I would be okay.
Okay. So once you got to the hospital and the doctors assessed, and I know this takes a little time just to figure out what's going on and what state your body is in, what did the doctors explain happened to you physically?
There wasn't really necessarily like an explanation to me at the beginning, just because there was so much going on. There was so many moving parts. There was multiple surgeries, and it was everyone kind of just fighting to keep me alive. So the explanation part of it kind of came afterwards, but there also wasn't much explaining that they had to do, because I also was so aware of what was going on, and I just listened and I did my best to follow along as much as I could in the moment.
But you knew there was a chance that you would not walk.
Yeah.
And for people who have diagnoses or things, realizations, where they know that their life is changing in a moment, what was your reaction to that realization?
I think at the beginning I was honestly probably less concerned about whether or not I would or wouldn't, just because I had to fight to stay alive in the first place. But after that, I don't think that there was like a sense of doubt in my head, just because I knew what was going on. I understood the kind of the injury already. So it was kind of just taking each day as a new step and just figuring it out as it went.
What was that injury?
I have a T4, T5 incomplete spinal cord injury. So my spinal cord was lacerated during the attack, and that paralyzed me from the chest down.
So you were not able to feel anything?
Mm-mm. No, ma'am.
So where do you get the determination? Is there a switch that clicks in your head? Like, what happens when you decide, I'm gonna bust my butt and walk again?
I think that part of me is kind of just who I am. It's kind of how I've been my whole life. I think that determination also stems a lot from playing softball and being an athlete and all of that, like those previous aspects of my life. Also with growing up with so many siblings and in such a busy house with so many things going on, I think that sense of independence was almost just like natural for me. Mm-hmm. And there was never like a moment where I sat there and like doubted the fact whether or not I could or couldn't, because I didn't really have a choice.
You said siblings. How many siblings do you have?
I have one sister and 4 brothers.
And softball, you have a ton of brothers and sisters there,
100%.
Who are involved, and you have always made it a point to really talk about people who have supported you. And number one, like your mom, your number one cheerleader, mom. So I get the mom part, but you know, and I'm thinking back to the most recent time in court during your ex-boyfriend's sentencing, when your mom got up there and she spoke and she triumphed you.
You handed Madison a life sentence on June 3rd, 2023, and it only seems fitting that you get the same. While Madison has been very private with her recovery, I have to watch my daughter struggle every night and day because of you.
Tell me about your mom and what she means to you.
She's incredible in every way. She's 100% my best friend, and I'll never not talk about her and how incredible she is. She's a single mom with 6 kids and does more than enough every single day for all of us. And she says it all the time, where she is just a mom, but she's so much more than a mom. She's literally one of the most incredible people you could ever meet in your entire life.
Now, it might be in such something so traumatic to have happened, especially to your child. It might be hard for a parent to connect with their child and, you know, get the child to talk to them. Is this a relationship that you've had all your life with your mom, or is this something that got stronger when this happened?
I think me and my mom have always been super close. She has close relationships with all of her kids. I mean, we're all each other's best friend, but at the end of the day, I think it's a different kind of bond that we have now, just because we did go through something so traumatic together. But at the end of the day, she was always my mom and always my best friend. So it was kind of not natural, because nothing about this was natural, but there was no question whether or not we were going to be together through the beginning all the way to the end.
Tell me about the rehab. I know that you put together this incredible video after a year went by, mm-hmm. and you chronicled your entire journey. How was that, especially in the beginning? That had to have not only been hard, but hurt, like physically hurt. Yeah. So tell me about that.
It was definitely a lot. There was so many different kind of phases of it, just because it starts from just simply sitting out of bed and then amounts to trying all these different things and just doing whatever you can to continue to get better. For a long time, I was there every single day for 3 to 4 hours a day.
And that's at Brooks? At
Brooks Rehabilitation in Jacksonville, yes ma'am. But it kind of just, once you start, you can't really stop, just because you're always progressing and you're always making new improvements. So it was definitely a lot trying to balance the rehab with school and all of these other life aspects, but the people at Brooks are incredible. I'll always speak highly of them.
So is that what motivated you to keep going, because you would see little improvements along the way?
I think that definitely helped, but from the beginning, I was motivated. I had a goal that I knew that I was going to reach, and there wasn't much that was going to get in my way to actually reaching the goal. but seeing like the little improvements and being able to like look back on all of those videos definitely helps encourage you and get things going.
You said you had a goal. At what point did you make this goal?
The very beginning, the very first moment that I can remember.
So did you not take time to just like lament your situation? I'm picturing myself bawling in a corner and like, why me? And like just looking at myself.
Yeah.
Did that not happen?
I mean, obviously I've had the why me moments and all the what ifs and what could have gone differently and just seriously asking why me, but at the end of the day, what happened happened. There was nothing that I could do to change about it, so there was never a moment that like I sat there and like moped around about it, because I had no room to do that. I had to just get up and keep going, because I wasn't going to get better if I didn't.
Were there points in this rehab where you just wanted to give up and say, oh my gosh, I can't do this?
I don't think it was ever an I can't. Obviously, it's an exhausting process. It still is, but there's not like one specific moment where it was like I'm done with this, I'm going to give up, because there's no point to doing that.
You said even now it's still difficult. So what what's going on now? Are you still in rehab just as tough?
I'm still in rehab, not 5 days a week, but 2 to 3 days for a couple hours. It's obviously still difficult. It's still not the same life that I lived before. It's probably won't ever be again, but just going through it's getting better every day, and it'll continue to get better every day, but it's definitely not as vigorous as it was at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Do you still hurt physically?
Depends on the day. It's just kind of what it is, but
Yeah.
I'm used to it by now.
But it's not depending on the day, like it rains outside and stuff hurts.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. It's just.
Not necessarily, no.
And I remember you talking about, talking during the sentencing phase.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't know was that after I won that fight for my life, was that I would be faced with a lifetime's worth of challenges. Faced with the fact that walking out of that restaurant was the last time I would be able to walk for several months. The fact that the last time I would be running for my life.
You talked about how this has not just continues to affect you physically, but emotionally, mentally. I had never thought about how you mentioned you couldn't go out at night by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about some of those things in the way this has affected you and how your life is different that way, how you see things differently.
My perspective on life is definitely a lot different. I think I'm still the same person, but certain ways that I live my life and certain ways that I go about things is a lot differently. I'm very thankful to be alive, and I appreciate the fact that I am every single day, but I also am a lot more cautious and a lot more hyper aware of my surroundings everywhere I go.
And you also mentioned on the stand how, there are certain things that you just have to go out of your way to do. Mm-hmm. Like you actually think about hanging out with your friends, you think mm-hmm. about making sure that you stay positive so that they don't get sad when they're with you. Is that something that weighs heavily on you, in the effect that this is sad on others besides yourself and those directly involved?
100%. I think it's definitely a ripple effect. I think from the beginning, me and my mom have both said it's not just a trauma for us, but it's a trauma for everyone around us, because everyone's lives changed, everyone saw the way that it affected us, and everyone was also personally connected to it. And that's definitely something that has been difficult to watch, but also to see everyone's resilience through it has been a blessing, just because they're all incredible people and I'm so thankful for all of them. But seeing the way that it not only affected me, my mom, my family, Kennedy and his family, but affected all of my friends and strangers and the community and all of that, it's definitely makes you feel loved, but at the end of the day, it is sad. It's a trauma for everyone involved.
I'm sitting here and I feel you are just such a tough young lady and, very matter of fact, and you are getting this done. Have you always been like this, or did this incident make you this way?
I think I can confidently say that I've always been like this. I think that it's kind of just what's been instilled in me my whole life, and also being a sister to so many and being their role model and being like a person for other people is something that I've always taken pride in myself for. But yeah, I think I'm definitely the same person as I was before this, if not more grown and more just appreciative of everyone and the things around me. But I am still the same person. This didn't change who I am, just kind of changed my life, but I'm still the same person.
And I know there are things that you may not be able to do. Softball was huge for you, and you were a leader in that. Obviously, now connected with your softball team forever.
Yeah.
Is that hard to think about?
At the beginning, yes, going through like that first season, like watching my then high school team like play, and I was still so involved. I was there at every practice, I was there at every game. I did the book, I was as involved as I could be. But at the beginning it was definitely difficult, and it was difficult to not be able to just go and do it because I've gone through injuries before, but there was always kind of that light at the end of the tunnel because I knew I would be able to play again. But it got easier with time. The people that, my teammates, my family, my friends, all of them, they made it easier to be there and to feel like I was still a part of the team and involved in every way that I could be.
And this incident happened at the end of your junior year, so you were going into your senior year once you knew that you weren't able to play softball anymore, and it was such a huge part of your life. How did you handle softball your senior year?
I think showing up helped me more than it hurt me. I think being around those people who have been my best friends, my teammates for the majority of my life was a huge factor in not only like my recovery but my healing, and being there and feeling involved and doing what I would normally do. I had the same schedule as I did for after school. Like I had the same schedule. I would leave school, I would go to practice, and I would be there with everyone. And they're my home. Softball was my home, so it definitely healed me more than it did hurt me. It obviously wasn't easy being around it, but it wasn't easy for anyone to sit there and watch me not be able to be a part of it in the way that I was before, but everyone handled it in the only way that we knew how, and at the end it was all worth it to actually go there and to be with them, and it was helpful.
Do you see yourself as a leader, as an inspiration to others?
I like to think so.
Yeah. Going forward in your life, I know you forged this great relationship with the bystanders that came over and ran over out of the blue and helped you. Kennedy Armstrong in particular, who was also hurt in the incident by your ex-boyfriend. Kennedy, and I'm going to mention this, and your mom received Carnegie Medals for Bravery. And just in case people don't know what this is all about, I want to let everybody know, this is a national honor that was started in the 19th century by Andrew Carnegie, $5 million of his own money, and he wanted to make a point to take citizens and honor them and show gratitude by giving them grants and scholarships and things. Heroes, it's a heroes fund. And it's such a big deal that the same fund was copied in 8 other countries. Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, Denmark, Belgium, Italy. So this is a big deal. And your mom and Kennedy both received this honor. What did you say to Kennedy after you got a chance to meet with him? He saved both of your lives.
Yeah, that first meeting with him was definitely full of emotions. I think my mom had more of the right words to say than I did. He came to the rehab hospital actually while I was there, and I met him and his dad, and they're incredible people. I'll always speak highly of them also. I mean, Kennedy's a hero, but he also comes from great people and a great family, and they are definitely our family for life.
And this is a message to young men, or just men in general. Look out, look around you, and if you see someone that needs help, you do it.
I'll never not talk about how great they are and how thankful I am for them. And the Carnegie Hero Award is everything they deserve and more.
Are you able to move forward and put this in the rearview mirror? I don't think you'll ever, obviously, never forget it, but was that the end of a chapter?
I don't know if it's necessarily the end of a chapter. It's definitely the end to a piece of it, but I have said it all the time that it's not just a story on the news that you read. It's not just something that you see on TV once in a while, but it's our lives, and it's real, and it happens every day. We all live it every single day, and I'll continue to live it every single day. I'll always be affected by it, whether or not it's physically or mentally, but there's definitely certain parts that come and go that I'm okay with being the end of it. But at the end of the day, it's something that's going to affect us forever. So there's not really necessarily an end to it, but just something else to move on from and to keep healing and moving forward.
And moving forward is something that you have done throughout this entire journey. And me, like others who watched the whole sentencing phase and saw you sitting there surrounded by your friends, everybody was dressed in, I think it was green shirts, were they green?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask you about that green color, where that comes from. But, you know, your ex-boyfriend's life in prison, seeing him in court, I mean, we heard him talk, nobody expected that.
I need serious help, and I have for a long time. And I'm so sorry for what this has come to, and I'm so sorry for my actions. I ask for forgiveness, and I ask for mercy. I ask for the chance to get help so I can return to my family.
How was it to face him in court?
Definitely a mix of emotions. I had already, prior to sentencing, I had been to the hearing in July when he pled guilty, so that was kind of something I had already experienced for the first time. So
And
being
was
there,
that difficult then?
yes. I mean, obviously it's not something that's easy. I think the way that I kind of deal with things, like if I have, like, I'm not a crier. If I know that I'm going to do something, I'm going to go there and I'm not going to cry. I'm just going to do it. But it definitely wasn't easy. I mean, there's no way that it would ever be easy, but it was, again, just something that I had to do and had to go through to get over and get past.
And you say get past, but you still have nightmares and things that you know, how do you handle those moments when you're by yourself and your friends aren't there, or your mom's not there, or people aren't there to support you? How do you handle those times?
I think I handle probably the more negative of times kind of by myself, just because that's how I process things. But again, it's just, in my head, it's just something that has to happen. For you feel it, you experience it, and then you move past it, because I've never found a point to like sit there and mope around about it, because it doesn't get me anywhere. But when I do have those moments, I let myself feel it, and then I get up and I move on.
Moving on, looking at your future, you're in college now.
Yes.
And I think I heard you say something about criminology.
I'm not sure.
What's going on?
I'm
What
not
are you
sure.
studying?
I'm an undecided major right now, and I'm trying to figure it out, but we'll see.
Any hopes as far as a career goes?
I think I have ideas, but none certain enough to really talk
No,
about.
really? Okay, which is fair.
Yeah.
It's still early on.
Yeah,
You're just a
it's time.
freshman. Do you think after this experience that you had, will you be able to date again?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's definitely, I mean, there's good people out there. That's what, I know I mentioned that before, but Kennedy is like the epitome of a good human being. I know that there's good people out there, and if the time comes, when the time comes, then it happens.
So, and that's proof for you that there are good people. And I also, I'm noticing this cross that you have, that you're wearing. Is your faith, does that play a part in this?
Yeah, 100%. I think for me and my family, it's been a huge part of it, and also really helpful just to be able to pray about what comes next and pray for hope and healing and all of the above.
And for all of those, you know, not everybody gets to come and tell you what a great inspiration you've been for them. You read messages, and I know there was a GoFundMe, and people left all kinds of inspiring messages. Anything you want to say to the community?
They're all incredible. I also will never shy away from thanking them, and I have said it before, but I have felt the same amount of love and support and prayers from the very beginning, and I still feel it to this day, and it's appreciated beyond words can ever even come close to explain.
Well, Madison, thank you for talking with us. I appreciate that, and I wish you all the best and continued strength.
Thank you.